Hello, hello, welcome. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are based, of course. Welcome to this live workshop organized by Ellie Publishing. My name is Silvia, and I'm here just to give you a few technical details as usual. So I'd like just to share with you some information about this session. So this session is live. However, will be recorded. So there will be a recorded video available for you and your colleagues, maybe who couldn't make it for today, in the next few weeks. So stay tuned, follow us on Facebook, and you will be acknowledged when the video will be available, okay? Also, this session consists of 45 minutes of presentation by our dear speaker, plus 10-15 minutes of questions and answers at the end of the session. So during the workshop, feel free to write down any comments, questions, anything you might, I don't know, you might think of during the session. There's a specific chat or question space dedicated to this in your check your smartphone or your laptop, and you should see like a menu with chat or questions where you can open and then you can write down and everything you want to ask to our speaker or to Ellie, okay? And then another very important thing is you will all be receiving a certificate of attendance, which will be released in a PDF format, so in a digital format, and you will be receiving it tomorrow evening in your inbox. So check your mail, check your email inbox, and check the spam as well, because sometimes I'm afraid just go there, okay? It will be a customized certificate with your name and the duration of this workshop and all the details needed for to you, okay? Then another very important thing actually is that under documents, you will be able to download the PDF or the presentation of this presentation you are going to listen to, you are going to watch now with Sushil. So feel free to download it. It could be useful for your archive, your study, or to share as well. And remember to do it before the end of this session, okay? Otherwise it won't be possible later. So under, again, by scrolling the menu, you will find a heading called Documents or Files. And it's there that you can open the arrow and click on the PDF to download. Right, so here we are then, very exciting to go to listen and to hear all about how we can integrate soft skills in English language teaching and in our classroom, your classrooms actually. And I'm very pleased now to introduce you to Sushil Penuti. She's our teacher trainer. Sushil joined Ellie Publishing a few months ago after many years of teaching experience. So she used to teach to primary students, lower secondary, upper secondary, and young adult students as well. So she has a wide experience in teaching, and she's an experienced educator with a passion for creating inclusive and engaging learning environment. And today she will be focusing in particular on soft skills, these magic two words, which are very important and very useful. I know teachers are all curious to hear all about, you know, this new concept, let's say. So thank you all and enjoy the session. And thank you, Sushil, and it's over to you now.
Thank you very much. A warm welcome to all of you, no matter where you are in this world. I am here sat in my office. I am chatting to you from Milano, Italy. The weather is not that great, but at least the sun has come out these last few days. It's been raining tremendously last week and the week before, so I'm actually quite happy with the weather change. I'm really pleased to be with you, all of you today, and I hope to share with you as many experiences that I've had that perhaps can help you in your classroom setting. Let's take a look at this quote. Now, this is absolutely one of my most favorite quotes. Charles Darwin, to be honest, I love him. And I thought that this quote was apt because it really highlights the crucial role adaptability plays in success, especially in today's rapidly evolving world. All of us know this. The world changes even as we speak. Now, concept, this quote that you see in front of you, it directly ties into the importance of learning soft skills in education. We all know that academic knowledge remains super valuable, highly important, but it is the ability to navigate change, communicate effectively, collaborate, and solve problems that empowers individuals to thrive in dynamic environments. With that quote, I'd like to introduce myself to you. Thank you very much, Sylvia, for giving me that wonderful introduction. But here's a little bit more about myself. My name is Sushil Penuti. I am a passionate educator. I'm also an ELT specialist, and I've had extensive experience in language education in many different countries all over the world. The most recent one being here in Italy, working in middle schools, and also a teacher trainer. What I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome all of you equally passionate educators, and I'd like to tell you that it is my privilege, or rather, it is a privilege on my part to share this hour with you. I'm super excited to explore how we can empower our students beyond academic knowledge by fostering essential skills, which we will discuss in a minute. I will talk about that in a minute, as well as perhaps talk about practical strategies, how we can integrate these skills into the classroom and better prepare our learners for the future. I want to share the agenda with you. I'd like this to be a little bit interactive if possible. I'll be asking you some questions, so be very, very prepared for that. And by all means, if you have a question, just write it down in the chat box and then we'll try to accommodate you a little bit later on. But what we're doing today, in today's webinar, we are going to be taking a closer look at how soft skills can make a real difference in your classroom. We'll start by exploring what soft skills are and why they matter for both students as well as for educators like you and me. And then soon after that, we'll dive into the 6 C's. What are they? You are going to be telling me that in a little bit. And we're going to see how these skills are essential for preparing students for life beyond the classroom. Let's also talk about why it's so important to bring soft skills into ELT. Well, I'll tell you now, the short story is that it has been proven to boost not only language learning, but also personal growth. Finally, I would love to share some practical ideas on how to weave soft skills into your lessons with easy to apply tips and activities that you can use right away in your classroom. Now, we all know that academic learning forms the core of education. We also know that a truly enriching school experience, it goes well beyond assignments to be submitted, for example, essays to be written, science projects, etc. And in my case, that is a long, long time ago, educators, their teaching mission was focused on developing receptive and productive skills. And these skills created well-rounded learners. However, increasingly, educators are acknowledging the significance of students' less measurable skills. To ask you before moving on to my next slide, ladies and gentlemen, educators, what are those language skills that I'm talking about? There are 4 of them, and let's see if you know what they are. Write it down in the chat if you like, and we'll see if you can remember what they are. I'll just give you a second. Will you write it down for me, please? Thank you. Actually, I can't see the chat. Let me see if I can. I can't even see the chat box. Oh, I see a lot of people writing in. Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Here we go. Receptive skills and productive skills. Now, through reading and listening activities, students were encouraged to absorb and comprehend information. Speaking and writing tasks allowed them to actively produce language and to express their ideas. I'm sure all of you agree with me. However, in contrast to the focus on these skills, on these language skills, schools in the past, they very often overlooked the development of soft skills. So while students like me at that time, we were trained to read, to listen, to speak, and to write effectively, unfortunately, teachers spent less time. There was less attention to nurturing interpersonal abilities. And these were actually very, very crucial for real world success, as all of you know. What happens was this lack of emphasis on soft skills meant that many learners left school, unfortunately, they were in academic knowledge, but they were not prepared for everything else outside there in the big bad world. Soon after that, education started evolving. And believe it or not, I've been through all of these different phases in life simply because I chose to become an educator quite late on in life. And so I can appreciate all of the changes in education, the evolution of education, as I may say. Soon after that, educators began incorporating the 4 Cs. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Teachers and educators, write down in the chat box what you think those 4 Cs are. What exactly are they? Write them down and tell me what you think wherever you are in the world, and then I'll share with you what they actually are. Will you do that for me? Thank you. I see a lot of people writing down. Here we go. There we go. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about critical thinking, communication, collaboration, as well as creativity. And in education, this became very, very important because educators recognized that the world was changing rapidly. Do you remember Darwin's quote? And with advancements in technology and globalization, these skills were needed for success in the workplace because society was evolving all the time. So teachers started to evolve at the same time. And they decided, look, we need to prepare our students for the future where simply memorizing facts wasn't enough. Understood that students would need to think critically about complex problems. They would need to work effectively with diverse teams, express their ideas clearly, and be innovative, let's just say, in their approaches. Therefore, by focusing on these skills, educators aim to create a more engaging and relevant learning experience that mirrored real-life situations. Ultimately, the goal was to empower students to become not just knowledgeable individuals, but also adaptable, creative thinkers who can navigate the challenges of a dynamic world. In this way, the 4 Cs created capable individuals, and these individuals were ready to make meaningful contributions to their communities. Before diving into the importance of soft skills, I would love to share this with you. Now, we talk about work, we talk about real life situations, we talk about corporate life in the future. And by the way, I've been through all of that in my lifetime. So before diving into the importance of soft skills for students, I would love to share with you some compelling statistics. And these statistics are really, really important, as you can see. All of you have heard of Stanford, you've heard of Harvard, and I'm sure you've heard of the Carnegie Foundation as well. What they do is they actually do a lot of research into many, many different aspects of life, mostly related to the corporate world. And here, this research that they've conducted actually shows a staggering 85% of job success. It comes from interpersonal skills. It comes from strong soft skills. And only 15% was attributed to hard skills or technical abilities. Another organization called the Skills Survey. Now, we know that the hiring process can be quite convoluted, let's just say. Recruitment managers, today, and you will find all of this information on LinkedIn because while preparing for this webinar, I did a lot of research on LinkedIn. Recruitment managers today, they are looking for candidates not with hard skills, not with technical skills, because these skills can actually be learned on the job. They are looking for candidates with strong, soft skills. 67% of HR managers. It's a big number indeed. And finally, you've heard of Microsoft. Everyone uses Microsoft these days. And McKinsey and Microsoft have actually predicted that in the future, 30 to 40% of future jobs will rely heavily on emotional intelligence, social emotional skills. And this highlights really, ladies and gentlemen, the growing demand for these abilities in the modern workforce. I wonder if you agree with me. Now, let's take a look very, very quickly, because I'd love to talk about the C's now. All the time, we talk about education and we talk about evolution of education. Educators have come to realize that teaching is all about passing on knowledge. It's also about helping students develop the soft skills they need to succeed in life. Therefore, there is now a stronger focus on skills like communication, like collaboration, empathy, because these are the things that are going to help your students in the real world. So it's not about books, it's not about facts. It's about how you help your students work well with others, collaborate well with others. It's about how they manage their emotions and solve problems creatively as well. So whether it's through group activity that encourage teamwork, which is a big thing, or even discussions that build emotional awareness, educators are finding new ways to bring soft skills into the classroom. And I love that, because the goal here is to prepare students not just for exams, but for life. Because equipping them with these skills, they will be able to face challenges and connect meaningfully with the world around them. The world, as we speak, is becoming smaller and smaller. I would like to ask you a question at this point. Where was the first place you learned about soft skills? I'm really curious to know. Write it down in the chat box if you possibly can. Now, in my case, the first place I learned about soft skills was the way we greet people. The community that I came from had a tradition of saying hello with your hands strongly clasped. I come from a country in Asia, the biggest continent in the world. This was a way of communication. Now, this was personal. This was a skill that helped people interact well with others, a conversation breaker. Because soft skills can be personal. They are everyday skills, and they do help people connect with each other. And these are things that include communication, teamwork, empathy, adaptability, and these qualities actually will help your student, your learner, or make it easier for them to work with others, also to resolve conflicts, stay resilient in difficult situations. Now, technical skills are very, very different. These are what we call hard skills. They focus on a specific task that you can learn when you're at school. And soft skills are about how we connect with people, and this is really important. Managing our information, our emotions, as well as approaching the world with a sense of curiosity and understanding. These are the skills that help us succeed, not only in our careers, but in relationships and life in general, I would say. Like to pause just for a moment, and I would like you to think back to your favorite teacher, or maybe your favorite manager, or even a boss that you really, really liked. Do you have someone in mind? I have someone in mind. I've got quite a few people in mind, to be honest. Chances are they were hired for their hard skills, job-related tasks, etc. But the reason you remember them, the reason I remember them, is for their soft skills. Because soft skills are what we remember about a person. For example, when you feel listened to, or you feel valued and you feel supported, this is what you remember about in a person. Which means that these strong soft skills, they make a person memorable, and they are important because they provide context to anything that's written, visual, and spoken. But the thing is this, as of late, we have really begun to shift away from what makes us human. Why? Because of technology. Technology has evolved and it has created a gap in our soft skills. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, in a little bit, just to share more information with you. But before that, um, soft skills are very, very important, obviously. So are hard skills. Hard skills and soft skills are important, but they are very, very different in what they bring to the table. Hard skills are technical abilities, of course. You know, a software, someone who codes, for example, someone who creates software, an application designer. These are all technical abilities. You can learn them through training or education, a doctor, a lawyer, etc. Speaking of foreign language as well is considered a hard skill. These are skills that are measurable, they are specific, and they're easy to demonstrate through, I don't know, to tests or perhaps even certification. Now, corporate world, everyone talks about hard skills. They get all of the headlines. They're super, super important. I used to work for a company called IBM. We were in technology. And in order for me to get a job in IBM, there were several processes. And these processes did not include an assessment on my soft skills. No, no, no. What it included was what do they call it? An intelligence test, exactly. So I had to sit for a 1.5 hour intelligence test just to show that I've got the skills to be part of the IBM team. But today I know, all of us know that to get promoted, you need strong soft skills. We've heard about IQ. What about EQ, which is a measure of emotional intelligence? Well, today it is proven that 90% of what moves the person up a success ladder is emotional intelligence, EQ, or emotional quotient. This is 2 times as important in distinguishing top performers from average ones and 4 times as important in senior role. I've done all my research and I can confirm that with you. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, soft skills, which is how you relate to people, etc. These are not measured. These are not easily measured, but they are key to building strong relationships and working well in a large team. So basically, in short, hard skills are what you do, and soft skills are how you do it. Both are essential, but soft skills often stand out. They help you stand out and thrive in personal and professional settings. Okay, before I move on to the next slide, I always love a little bit of mystery. Have you heard of the 21st Century Skills Framework? Does anyone know what this is? 21st Century Skills Framework. If you've heard about it, let me know what it is, please, in the chat box. Before I move on to the next slide, 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right. The 21st Century Skills Framework is all about helping students succeed. Today's world is fast changing. It's connected, but it's fast changing. And at the heart of this approach, ladies and gentlemen, we find the 6 C's. 4 C's a second ago, and you could be thinking, Sushil, but the 6 C's, what are they? Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute. But these skills, I can confirm, are a group of very important skills that go beyond just academic learning. They're designed to not only help students excel in school, but for everything else, future careers, social interactions, you name it, they are highly, highly beneficial. I have put the 4 C's up there. Communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Can any one of you please tell me what the last 2 C's are? Come on, you'll win a prize. Write it down in the chat box if you possibly can. Ready?
Shall I read them aloud for you?
Yes, because I can't see the chat box. Yes, please.
For example, I've got someone writing here, like teacher Miriam writing cultural awareness, or Christina writing citizenship, or again Ahmad, cultural awareness.
Wow.
And citizenship, character.
Wow.
Or community and connection. So there are so many inputs.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for that input. That is amazing. For those of you who said, let me move on, citizenship and character, ding, ding, ding. You got it absolutely correct. These are the 6 C's. So from 4, they've gone on to 6, and they have included citizenship and character. And we're going to take a closer look at what all of them are about. So I want you to remember this because I might ask you a question later on. Let's do a quick overview. Now, critical thinking, all of us know what it is. Everyone must have the ability to analyze, to evaluate, to take information, synthesize it, solve complex problems creatively and effectively. This can start in a classroom setting, because in the future, when you are in an office setting, in a corporate setting, you will come across a lot of problems which you need to make reasoned judgments and solve them effectively. So very, very important soft skill to have. The other one is communication. Let's talk about communication for a minute. We communicate all the time, every day, every single minute of our lives. Communication really involves, in the classroom setting as well as outside, clearly expressing ideas, understanding others. It could be through speaking, it could be through writing, it could be on a digital platform, but communication is key, absolutely important. Now, we always talk about teamwork, team spirit. This is what we call collaboration. What does that mean exactly? It really means that you must be able to respect diverse perspectives. You must be able to work effectively with others, because at the end of the day, you are contributing to a common goal. And that's why teamwork is really important. The other thing is creativity. That's a big deal now. You need to, I remember when I was interviewed many, many years ago, the human resource manager kept on telling me we were looking for a person who's able to think outside the box. What does that even mean? Well, in short, that means to be creative, to be able to develop new ideas, to be able to embrace innovation and to address challenges. So this is definitely part of the 4 Cs. And recently, these Cs have been expanded. This framework has been expanded to include citizenship. I mean, look, there are so many global issues out there that we are facing at the moment. So understanding these global issues are really important to become responsible, to become socially and environmentally responsible, as well as to actively contribute to the community. This is part and parcel of our life now in the 21st century. And finally, character over there. You might be thinking, Sushil, but that's pretty straight. Why character in the 6 Cs? Why? Well, simply because soft skills that we learn or that we teach in classrooms, we need to teach our children to build qualities like resilience, for example, empathy, which for me is really, really important, integrity, as well as perseverance. Because all of this is needed, is required, is essential to navigate life's challenges. And I'm sure you agree with me on that. So let's come back to integrating soft skills in an ELT setup, in a classroom, in your classroom. Do we need to do that then? Why is it so important? Well, you know this probably better than I do now. Language learning is so much more than just memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary. Classroom settings are teachers, educators that are of the old-fashioned style. All they want children to do is to learn, to memorize, and to regurgitate, to be able to share that information, and that is it. Not true anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It is all about being able to communicate effectively in real life situations. Perhaps you can give me examples later on, because this is where soft skills make a huge difference in your classroom. Language learners must be able to communicate, have meaningful conversations, because it starts in the classroom. Actually, it starts in the house. It moves on to the classroom, out in the world in the future. Because soft skills like teamwork and empathy, empathy for me is really, really important. They are super, super important when you're working, especially in multicultural environments. All of us are pretty diverse nowadays. I mean, look at me, I'm an Asian working in an Italian office. Talk about diversity. That's a multicultural environment, and the communication is essential here. So understanding and respecting different perspectives, also very important and key. So all of this, what all of this does actually is, when you develop these skills, this actually boosts your students, your learners, their employability in the future. And this gives them the tools they need to adapt and to grow throughout their careers, throughout their lives. I'm telling you now, it's not just about speaking a language. All of us are language learners. I'm a language learner. I'm learning Italian every single day, but it's also about connecting with others and living in a global world, let's just say. So I am going to just tell you now how we can do this. This is all part of why we're having this webinar today. When we incorporate soft skills into a classroom, you might be thinking, oh, it could be quite difficult. No, it can be fun, it can be impactful. And there's so many ways of doing it. I've listed them down here for you. If you feel that I've missed out on anything, feel free to write it down in the chat box and we can discuss it in a minute. Now, group discussions, communication. They are a great way for students to practice collaboration, communication, critical thinking, sharing ideas, working through problems together. You can't ask for a better way to implement or to integrate soft skills into your lessons. Project-based learning, this is my favorite. Now, I am really big on the Agenda 2030, and most recently, the schools that I taught here in Italy, we talked a lot about global issues and the Agenda 2030. What you could do is you give them projects. You can make them do research, because what this can do is this can encourage creativity again, problem solving again, teamwork. Students are able to tackle real world tasks. And what about role-playing scenarios? Have you heard of the mini United Nations? That was big in a lot of schools. So let your children, let your students actually participate in this scenario, because what this does is it helps to build adaptability and emotional intelligence, because it gives learners the chance to step in someone else's shoes and handle different situations. And the last one that I put here, one of the reasons why I put peer teaching down here, last week on Friday, I attended a conference here in Milano at the International House. One of the speakers, Chris Rowland, I love him, he's fantastic. He talked about peer teaching. Now, what this means is a classroom setting, a classroom inside the classroom. So you can actually bring up one of your students to reinforce collaboration, of course, and you can get them to be the teacher. So what this does is this helps to strengthen their leadership skills as they guide their classmates. Everyone gets a turn, and watch their self-esteem and their morale just go up, 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 up. If I was still in the classroom setting, I'll be using this example for sure. Now, these activities don't just teach content, they do help a student develop all of the important skills that they will need for the future and for their lives, basically. Okay, I love this book, and I love the books that we have at Ellie Publishing, which are called the Graded Readers. I love all of them. I've read quite a few of them online, and I actually have quite a few of them in front of me now. And I thought of putting this example here because this example really shows how soft skills can be used in action in a classroom. I'm going to ask you a question. Just take a look at the title, Juanita and her alpaca. And I've also taken out an extract from the book and I put it up there on my presentation. Just the idea that this book is about Juanita and discover her Peru. You are from Peru, by the way. It's a country that I've always wanted to visit, and it's on my bucket list, and I will definitely one day make my way over there. Do you think this particular book, based on this information that you have, what do you think it is? What skills do you think it's teaching us? Which soft skills or which 21st century skills do you think it's teaching us here? What do you think it is? Would you please write it down in the chat box and let me know? And Sylvia, if you're listening, will you share with me what is being written in the chat box, please?
Yes, by all means. I would just, okay, maybe just repeat your question, Sushil, so that the audience can actually have got the time, because there's a little bit of delay since when you speak and then they receive the message. Please.
Okay, so my question is this. I would like to talk about soft skills in action in the classroom. I have put up this book here, which is one of my favorite graded readers from Ellie Publishing, as well as an abstract. I would like you educators to tell me in the chat box what you think are the lessons to be learned just by looking at these images. What kind of soft skills can we put in action here? If you don't understand, ask again, and I'm happy to repeat my question.
Okay, I can see some answers coming through. So, for example, creativity, communication, peer teaching, group discussion.
Wow.
Creativity again.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Very, very good.
Collaboration,
Thank you
communication, the usual.
very, very good. I love it. Thank you very much. Communication, definitely, for sure. Now, imagine you're asking a student to give a presentation in class, a presentation on Juanita. It's not just about speaking English fluently. It's about clearly expressing ideas, listening to questions. Your student is going to find out about Juanita. It's going to find out about her life in Peru. And, this kind of effective communication in the form of a presentation on, say, for example, Machu Picchu, which is a place that I would love to go to one day. It really helps students connect with others and make the world a smaller place. Whether they're discussing a project or resolving a misunderstanding, communication is definitely one of the skills that you can use in the classroom setting. The other thing I'd like to say is empathy. Now, in language lessons, students often they read or they listen to stories from different cultures or even perspectives. And this encourages them to put themselves in someone else's shoes, understanding empathy. So, this kind of situation, whether they're comforting a classmate or dealing with difficult situations, empathy and understanding for Juanita is why her life is very different from my life. Well, this builds a stronger, a student who is able to relate and is able to adapt to the many different situations around the world. Now, here we're looking at some activities that you could use in your classroom to build soft skills. These are great activities. I've used them many, many times, and I can promise you that they actually work. One of those are debates, persuasive speaking. Now, these are really great for helping students to develop critical thinking and communication skills. They get to practice presenting their ideas confidently and backing them with solid reasons. Now, I've got two children. I've got two sons, and they're very, very close in age, a few years difference. And they're best friends now, but as children are, they used to fight a lot growing up. And very, very often when they came to me with an argument, I used to always tell them communication. If you want to tell me what your brother has done, you need to back it up with a solid reason. And soon they started doing that. And in doing that, they became very persuasive. And persuasive speaking, by the way, is a skill that's very, very important in the world these days. So debates tend to encourage students to listen to others' opinions. They teach them to respect different viewpoints and to respond as well accordingly, equally. Another thing that I've done many, many times, ladies and gentlemen, is writing projects, research projects, writing projects. This teaches a lot about collaboration and teamwork. Not only that, but time management and written skills as well. So what happens here is students will learn how to split their tasks, manage deadlines, and collaborate effectively. And all this while improving their writing in a meaningful, real-world way. So the next slide. This is another book that I really love. Again, a graded reader by Ellie Publishing, Our Water, Our World, written by our very own Jane Cadwallader. Ask you a question, the same as before. What kind of soft skills can your students develop here? Just by looking at these images. Now, Our Water, Our World obviously talks about the water or, whatever liquid we have on our planet. And if you look at some of the images here, you can see that these are natural disasters. And the third image, you can see that posters have been created. What kind of soft skills? Will you write it down in the chat box for me, please, so I know?
Shall I read some
Thank you.
comments?
Yes, please.
For example, I've got critical thinking.
Yes.
Citizenship, also discussion.
Very, very good.
Multiculturalism as well, because you compare culture, I reckon, in terms of considering the water.
Exactly. Very good. Yes.
And
fantastic.
That's it for the moment. Can I just interrupt you for a second? Sorry, apologies, Sushil, because I can hear that someone having some issues listening to this workshop. I don't know if it's because we haven't got any technical issues from our side. So maybe you like to check your audio settings, dear teachers, because I've checked everything and it sounds good from the platform. So, okay, just, you know, just to know. Okay.
I'm so sorry that you're having difficulty in connecting and listening. However, I'd like to assure you that all of this is recorded and you will be getting the PDF file. So at the end of the slides, you have my email. So if you have any questions at all, by all means, feel free to send me an email and ask away. Okay, but rest assured, you will be getting a PDF of this presentation. So thank you so much for your contributions. I really appreciate it. What we're looking here is, yes, teamwork. As you can see in the last slide, to save the world, we need to save water. And how do we do that? We create a group project where students must collaborate to complete a task. In this case, making posters. In addition to practicing language skills, and I'm going to be talking about language skills all the time because that's part and parcel of school these days. These students need to share ideas, they need to listen to one another, and they need to divide the tasks fairly. So that's collaboration. And this teaches them to work well with others, which is a key skill in any job or even a social situation. Solving as well. Someone said problem solving, someone said citizenship. I love all of those ideas and thank you very much for them. But in this case, problem solving, why? Because scenario where students are faced with a challenging task, like organizing an event or solving a puzzle, for example. Critical thinking, someone said critical thinking. Yes, they have to brainstorm, they have to evaluate options, they have to make decisions together. And what happens is their ability to think critically and to problems with confidence grows, not with frustration. So very, very essential and very, very important here. Now, another great way to build soft skills in the classroom is through problem-solving challenges. Role-playing real-life scenarios. We talked about that earlier. Students can actually practice handling, for example, and I love this example, it's a customer complaint. Now, when I moved to Italy 20 years ago, I've been living in and out of Italy. I lived in Asia for quite a number of years. Recently, we came back to Italy. When I moved here, I cannot begin to tell you, the customer service was one of the worst I've ever experienced in my life. And I've lived in quite a few countries. However, things have changed a lot. Handling a customer complaint is not easy. You could create a scenario where your students could practice handling a customer complaint because this type of activity encourages them to think on their feet, to come up with creative solutions, and to teach them how to adapt to different situations. Trust me, it's fun. It's a practical way to build adaptability, creativity, and it's a skill that's not only useful in class, but very, very important for everyday life. Do you agree with me? I think you probably do. So here's the thing. Here's another example I want to show you. And this particular example comes from Ready for Planet English, another book that I actually think makes a very big difference in classroom settings. So if you look very, very quickly here, in today's education, we all know that soft skills, they do play a very crucial role in shaping an individual who's responsible, who's well-rounded. But in today's way of living, citizenship, volunteering, they actually teach students the value of community involvement, whether they're organizing a local cleanup. So schools here now in Italy, a lot of them have started to organize or started to get volunteers too to go to parks, to clean up, to create better citizens, basically, to raise awareness about important causes. There was a typhoon in the Philippines not too long ago, and a lot of schools collaborated together to donate items to the Philippines, which I think is really, really good. Because what happens is when these issues come up, you raise awareness about these important causes, students actually learn how to contribute meaningfully to society. And I think that this is vital. Critical thinking also challenges them to look at problems from different angles. Like when they debate about real world issues, whether it's in class or on projects that they're working on, because this require a lot of deep analysis. And by developing these global skills like citizenship, for example, or even character, students become very open-minded and they are very prepared when they move out into the real world. So how do we incorporate soft skills in ELT? By the way, thank you very much for still being here with me. If you're still here and listening to my presentation, my webinar, and I'm really hoping that you've learned something from it, because I love sharing my own experiences with my with participants of my webinar. Now, incorporating soft skills into the classroom, it does make learning more practical and far more engaging. I mentioned earlier that I'm a passionate educator. I just feel that it takes a village to bring up a child. It's not just the mom and dad, it's not just the grandparents, it's teachers in the schools and everyone all around you. Their goal is to actually create a citizen who's responsible and inclusive. And we want all of these learners to become practical and to become engaging. Alongside language goals, of course, what you could do is you could set objectives for your learner to focus on teamwork and communication. All of this while improving their English, because they are also learning how to collaborate effectively, like working together, for example, on a group research or on a group presentation. And when it comes to assessment, this is what I do. I don't just grade them on their speaking or their writing skills like the olden times. I love to evaluate my students on how well they collaborate during a class project or class research, or how they handle communication in a debate. You will find a lot of challenges, but it's just a way of overcoming these challenges, of course. Now, during feedback, go beyond correcting language errors. As teachers, we are very used to taking a red pen, for example, and marking our students' test papers. But go beyond just doing that. Offer advice on how students can improve their communication strategies, listen better to their peers, a group discussion, or even resolve conflicts respectfully. This is really, really important. Now, in this way, you're not only helping your kids become better language learners, but they're also preparing them for real life situations, because you've seen the statistics. Soft skills are just as important as language proficiency. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, test scores and grades alone don't tell the full story of your child's education. Right. We're almost at the end of our webinar. Get ready with your questions, please. Put them in the chat box, and we'll sort them out in a little bit. We've got just a few more slides. I'm almost at the end, and I just want to reinforce the fact that soft skills are very important to human culture, because they are the infrastructure that builds community. Today, you and I, we are more than just language teachers. We are mentors, because we are preparing our students to become responsible citizens of tomorrow. And this very important role that you and I have goes beyond teaching English. It involves nurturing our students. Essential life skills like self-awareness, for example, the things you say, how you say it, organization, time management, teamwork, all of this is part and parcel of how we teach soft skills. Communication, for example. Very, very recently, my husband, who's Italian, was telling me a story about his office. Now, communicate is really important. This is a soft skill that is essential. So one of his colleagues actually came up and said, told him the story. And she said, look, I went to the HR manager and I told her that my father-in-law is really ill and possibly going to pass away to leave this world, let's just say, very, very soon. And she was shocked, actually, that the human resource manager responded by saying, I'm very, very sorry. Um, is everything okay with you? Now, on the other hand, another colleague comes up and goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear this news. This makes me feel so sad. Is there anything I can do? Can I bring you for a cup of coffee? Would you like to talk to me about this? And this communication, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very important. It's the nuance, it's the way you communicate with the person that makes a big difference. Now, this is why soft skills has been implemented in schools, and creating a better person has become pretty vital, I'd say, in educational settings, let's just say. However, teaching soft skills can be tricky at times. And one of those, I'd like to share with you some challenges here. One of the biggest challenges is time constraints. So much to cover. You've got 1 hour, or you've got 45 minutes or 50 minutes in a limited class period, and it can be hard to balance language lessons with soft skills development. And on that, I don't know if you've experienced this, I have. Students, they resist the focus. They insist that all they want to do, Sushil, is I want to master grammar and I want to master accuracy. This is the most important part of learning a language. How then you overcome such challenges? Well, I'm going to share that with you now. To tackle these issues, try integrating soft skills into your existing lessons. For example, working on grammar exercises, encourage your kids, work and collaborate in small groups or pairs even. This way, they can discuss their answers and reason together without any fights. Then this allows them to practice language and build teamwork and communication skills simultaneously. Another effective solution which I have used in my classrooms is to design lessons that seamlessly blend language learning with soft skills development. And this can be done by incorporating activities that I talked about earlier, and that requires both linguistic proficiency and essential soft skills. To create a presentation. When they present it to you, you can then evaluate them on collaboration, for example, how well they've worked together, language skills, of course, in the way they are presenting. So all of this, including linguistic proficiency, actually creates or a synergy in how you impart your knowledge to your children. For example, when planning a lesson on persuasive writing, you could have students work in groups, create a campaign for a cause that they care about. Recently, my children created a campaign on alcoholism and domestic abuse. So make them work together, because it not only helps them practice their writing and their speaking skills, but encourage creativity, critical thinking, teamwork. Providing real life examples and showing the relevance of these skills, well, this can greatly motivate learners. So we all know that effective communication collaboration is really, really important. And by making these connections clear, you're creating a learning environment where both language skills as well as soft skills, they flourish together. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, educators, if you've been with me this far, thank you very much. I'd like to ask you a very, very quick question. What do you think a world, or our world, would look like without soft skills? No soft skills at all. Everyone is just focused on learning hard technical skills. Well, this morning I got a glimpse of it. I usually take the train into the office whenever I come into the office in Milan. And at the train station, it's pretty early, actually, it's about 7 o'clock in the morning. There were loads and loads of high school kids, groups of teenagers waiting for the train at the station. What were they on? They were all hunched over their phones. Hunched over their phones. They cannot put their phones down. And in my mind, I was thinking, why don't you just put your phones down and talk to each other, communicate with each other? Because unfortunately, that is where we are now in the world. Conversation, communication has become a lost art. In fact, poor soft skills are becoming an epidemic. And I think, and I know that you agree with me, that we need to save soft skills from extinction, because a world without soft skills would be very, very challenging, especially in the context of children and education. As we come to the end of our webinar, ladies and gentlemen, on teaching soft skills in ELT, let's take a moment to reflect on how vital these skills are for a well-rounded language learning experience. Soft skills they're not just an extra layer. No, no, no. They're key to helping our students succeed in the real world. It takes a village, and we are part of that village. So by weaving these soft skills into our lessons, if you prepare yourselves well enough, we are actually also preparing our learners for challenges that they will face in everyday life. Now, I have shared some practical and fun ways that you could integrate soft skills into your classroom, from group projects to role-playing activities. I hope that you will take them away and you'll be able to implement and integrate them into your lessons. Because as teachers, we have the chance to create a richer, more engaging learning environment that not only improves language proficiency, but also nurtures personal growth and resilience. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for being here today. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed my time with you. And I would tell you now, let's keep encouraging our students to become those confident communicators and compassionate global citizens. If you have any questions, by all means, write them down in the chat. I'm ready to answer them for you right away.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
questions?
you, yes, I joined the session just because, yes, we are a little bit running out of time. And I think because there are so many positive and nice messages, and there are some questions as well, I would like at least you to answer to a couple of those ones. And thanks for this very, very inspiring session. I think I can see different questions, but one common question I can read through all our teachers is, how can we measure, how can we assess soft skills like outcomes for each of my students? Or is it possible? Is there a way to assess soft skills somehow? Maybe there will be a time where students will be evaluated for these ones as well.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you an example of exactly what I do. So when I give my children or my students how do I say, a project, let's just say a project to do, and this is very, very often. I mentioned earlier that I love the Agenda 2030, and I think it's highly important for students to actually to create global awareness, let's just say. So the soft skills that I measure are the manner in which they collaborate with each other. Collaborating is not easy. So what children have to do is you give them a presentation that they have to work together to do research, to create and to present. What the children will do, first of all, is they will set up a WhatsApp chat, they will collaborate with each other, and then they will communicate with each other and decide, okay, so this person is going to do this. Everyone has got their own tasks. One of the questions I ask, actually one of the first questions I ask my students before they present to me, how well have you worked together? Have you worked together well? What were your responsibilities in creating this presentation for me? I'd like to know everything in detail, please. And very often you'll find in a group, one of the kids will say, no, Edgardo never contributed anything at all to our presentation. He didn't respond to our WhatsApp messages. He didn't participate in creating a presentation slide. So this is one of the ways that I can actually measure collaboration. This is one of the ways I can measure critical thinking or the lack of in the form of the presentation, how well they've created a presentation slide, for example, collaboration, teamwork, everything, communication as well. So it's not as difficult as you think it is, the way you measure soft skills in your classroom setting. I hope I answered your question, by the way.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, of course, there are so many other questions coming through. And so, for example, teacher Tatiana is asking, well, it is exactly a similar question to the previous one, but she's wondering whether there are any criteria that teachers can actually apply. I'm not sure for that, though, if there are any specific criteria.
Yes, you can create your own criteria. I create my own criteria whenever I'm in a classroom setting. I am a huge observer of every single child in my classroom. And this is one of the things I remind them. While they're here in my classroom to expand their vocabulary, to learn language skills, etc., I want to see how they relate to each other as well. I am huge on group work. So I do make them, oh, sorry. Another thing that I do that really, really works, I do not put friends together in teams, in groups. I put people from the opposite ends of the classrooms to see how well they work with people that they don't hang out with in classrooms. So this is one way of doing it. And by the way, feel free to create your own criteria on how you can assess your children. It's not very, very difficult. If you like, send me an email and I can share with you some of my, I've got a list of A, B, C, D criteria that I generally use when I'm with my students. And it
Excellent.
works amazingly well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you. I'd just like to take this opportunity as well, ladies and gentlemen, to thank you again for your participation. And I am actually going to be holding another webinar very, very soon towards the later part of November. And I hope to see all of you there. It's going to be about task-based learning, very, very essential in your classrooms as well. Please, if you can participate, you'll be learning a lot of things from there. And I'll be sharing my experiences as usual with all of you.
Thank you. Well said, well spotted. Yes, we will have another webinar with you next month. So we will be promoting it very, very soon. So stay tuned again through newsletters or website or Facebook. So make sure to follow us. And remember, you can download the PDF of this presentation. Just try to go under documents, or there's an icon, is a sheet icon. Download the PDF. Okay, you can do it until we close this session. And for the rest, you've got email address because they register to marketing@elionline.com. Feel free to send any comments or other questions you might have. I think we have to close this session. Thanks again, Sushil. And thanks
Thank
to
you
all
so
our
much,
teachers.
everyone. And I hope to see all of you very, very soon. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. You have been so lively, so active, and very inspiring, I have to say. So it has been great to be sitting here at the back, let's say, of this session. So see you soon. See you next time. Bye bye all.
Ciao, everyone. Ciao, ciao.